The 42nd floor of Spencer Tech Tower sliced through the Manhattan skyline like a shard of glass, and from her corner office, Olivia controlled a view that ran from the Hudson River to the East River. At just 34, she had built an empire most people only imagined, with her company's latest quarterly report crossing $2 billion in revenue and Forbes naming her among the most influential women in technology. But that level of success came with its own cost. "Miss Spencer, your 3 p.m. appointment has arrived," her assistant Rebecca announced over the intercom, her tone sharp and efficient, exactly as Olivia required. "Sent in," Olivia replied, never lifting her eyes from the laptop, where lines of code and financial forecasts flashed across the screen. Marcus Wellington stepped inside with the self-assurance of a man used to getting his way. He was the heir to a real estate fortune, freshly divorced from a senator's daughter, and precisely the kind of partner New York's elite expected for a woman like Olivia. "Olivia," Marcus said with a confident smile, his perfectly white teeth contrasting his polished tan. "You look stunning, as always." She finally looked up, her green eyes cool and analytical. Marcus was attractive in the way wealth could manufacture: immaculate grooming, tailored suits, and complete predictability. Like so many men before him, he assumed interest was inevitable. "Marcus, I appreciate you taking the time to meet," Olivia said, closing her laptop with a quiet click. "But I want to be clear. I'm not interested in anything beyond a professional relationship." His smile tightened, just for a moment. "Olivia, we hardly know each other. Maybe if we just had dinner." "I don't date," she cut in, rising from her chair and walking toward the floor-to-ceiling windows. The city stretched endlessly below, millions of people living modest, predictable lives, while she made decisions that shaped thousands of careers and shifted billions in market value. "I don't have time for romantic distractions, and honestly, I don't see the purpose." Marcus stood as well, his jaw tightening with restrained irritation. "You can't build a life on spreadsheets and boardrooms forever, Olivia. Everyone needs companionship." "Do they?" She turned to face him, her expression perfectly calm. "I already have everything I need: my company, my achievements, my freedom. Tell me, what exactly would a relationship add to that?" After Marcus left, visibly frustrated and quietly embarrassed, Olivia returned to her desk. He was the 7th man in 3 months her social circle had funneled her way: senators' sons, tech founders, investment bankers, all molded from the same expectations, all assuming she would eventually dull her edge and accept the role of a powerful woman who still needed a man to feel complete. The idea repulsed her. As night fell, the office slowly emptied, but Olivia stayed, as she always did, working long after the lights dimmed and the cleaning crew arrived. It was past 10 when she finally packed up and stepped into the elevator. Her driver waited outside in the black Mercedes, but tonight something stopped her. "Take the night off, James," she said softly through the open window. "I think I'll walk." The October air nipped at her cheeks as she stepped onto the sidewalk. New York in autumn had always been her favorite, the way the city seemed to breathe out after summer's suffocating heat, the warm golden light drifting through Central Park's changing leaves, the restless energy humming through streets filled with coats and scarves. She headed south through Midtown, her heels striking the pavement in a calm, measured rhythm. Despite the late hour, the streets buzzed with life. This was, after all, the city that never slept. Yellow cabs blared their horns through traffic, street vendors shouted to late-night commuters, and the neon glow of Times Square washed everything in electric reds and blues. But with each block, the crowds thinned and the noise softened. Soon she reached Union Square, where farmers would set up their stalls at dawn, and protesters often gathered to be heard. At this hour, the square lay mostly still, occupied only by a few lingering night wanderers and the homeless who had claimed benches for sleep. That's when she noticed her. Curled up near the subway entrance was a young woman, no more than 25, wrapped in a frayed blanket worn thin by time. Dark waves of hair framed her face, and even in sleep there was something strikingly delicate about her features. She held a battered backpack tight against her chest, as if it were the last thing tethering her to the world, and her clothes, though clean, were clearly second-hand. Olivia slowed, then stopped. In her life of boardrooms and penthouses, homelessness existed as numbers on reports and talking points at charity galas, where wealthy donors signed checks to soothe their guilt. But seeing her, this young woman, barely younger than Olivia herself, sleeping out in the open in the center of Manhattan, sent an unexpected ache through Olivia's chest. The temperature was dropping fast, and the forecast had warned of frost by morning. Without fully knowing why, Olivia stepped closer to the bench. The girl shifted but didn't wake. From this distance, Olivia noticed the tremble running through her body despite the thin blanket, her lips faintly blue from the cold. "Excuse me," Olivia said quietly. The girl's eyes flew open, brown eyes, warm despite everything, yet sharp with the caution of someone who had learned not to trust easily. She sat up at once, gripping her backpack as if it might be taken. "I'm sorry," she murmured, her voice rough with sleep and cold. "I wasn't bothering anyone. I'll move if—" "No," Olivia interrupted, surprised by the softness in her own tone. "You don't have to move. It's very cold out here. Do you have somewhere warm to go?" The girl searched Olivia's face, noting the tailored coat, the designer bag, the unmistakable signs of wealth. Her expression hardened slightly. "I'm fine," she said, though the tremor in her teeth told a different story. "What's your name?" Olivia asked, lowering herself onto the bench despite herself, the icy metal seeping through her coat. The girl paused, hesitation flickering across her face.
"Emily. Emily Carter. And I'm Olivia." She left out her last name, instinctively sensing it would only make Emily more uneasy. "How long have you been out here?" Emily pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "A few weeks. Look, I appreciate the concern, but I don't need charity. I'm just between places right now." There was pride in her tone, a quiet dignity that refused to be stripped away by circumstance. Olivia recognized it instantly because she had built her own life on that same unyielding independence. "I wasn't offering charity," Olivia said evenly. "I was offering help. There's a difference." Emily let out a short, bitter laugh. "Is there? In my experience, help always comes with strings attached." They fell into silence, watching the glow of late-night traffic circle the square. A police car rolled past at a crawl, and Emily stiffened until it disappeared from view. "What happened?" Olivia asked softly. Emily stayed quiet so long Olivia thought she might not respond at all. Then, in a voice barely louder than the wind, she finally spoke. "I was working at a small marketing firm in Brooklyn."
Nothing fancy, but I loved it. I was good at it too. Creative campaigns, social media strategy. Emily's gaze drifted as she spoke. "I had a tiny studio apartment in Williamsburg. It wasn't much, but it was mine." She paused, her breath turning to mist in the cold air. "Then the company got bought by a larger firm. Some people stayed, others were let go. I wasn't one of the lucky ones." "Couldn't you find another job?" Olivia asked gently. "I tried, but the market's brutal, and without a big-name company on my resume—" Emily shrugged. "My savings disappeared fast. Rent in New York doesn't wait for you to recover." She tightened the blanket around herself. "I stay in shelters when I can get a bed, but they're usually full. Some nights, like tonight, it's just easier to find a quiet place and wait for morning." Something fractured in Olivia's chest. This was someone capable and driven, undone by circumstances that could just as easily touch anyone. How many times had Olivia passed people like Emily without ever truly seeing them? "There's a hotel right across the street," Olivia said suddenly. "The W Union Square. Let me get you a room for the night." Emily's eyes widened in shock. "I can't accept that. I don't even know you." "You know my name is Olivia, and I know yours is Emily," Olivia replied calmly. That's more than most people know about each other when they first meet. She stood, committing to the choice in a way that surprised even herself. It's just one night, Emily. No strings attached, only a warm bed and a hot shower. Emily looked up at her for a long moment, and Olivia could see the conflict written clearly across her face. Pride wrestling with exhaustion, suspicion clashing with fragile hope. Why? Emily asked at last. It was a fair question, and one Olivia struggled to answer. Why was she standing in Union Square near midnight offering a hotel room to a stranger? Why had this moment shaken her more than any boardroom crisis ever had? Because, Olivia said, startled by her own honesty, we all need help sometimes, and tonight I'm in a position to give it. Emily searched her face beneath the streetlights, looking for deceit or hidden intent. Whatever she found there seemed to be enough, because she slowly nodded. Okay, she said softly. One night. The lobby of the W Union Square was a showcase of modern luxury, clean lines, muted lighting, and an elegance that spoke quietly of money rather than flaunting it. Emily trailed behind Olivia through the revolving doors, her worn backpack and frayed blanket standing in sharp contrast to the polished marble and designer furnishings. Good evening, Miss Spencer, the desk clerk said smoothly, offering the practiced smile reserved for recognized VIPs. How may we assist you this evening? Emily's head snapped toward Olivia. Spencer? As in Spencer Tech? The name splashed across billboards all over the city? The company whose CEO appeared regularly on the covers of business magazines? I need a room for my friend, Olivia said smoothly, either unaware of Emily's stunned expression or deliberately ignoring it. Something comfortable, with a view if possible. Certainly, Miss Spencer. We have a deluxe king room available on the 15th floor overlooking the square. As the clerk began processing the reservation, Emily grabbed Olivia's arm. You're Olivia Spencer? She whispered urgently. The Olivia Spencer? Yes, Olivia answered simply. Why didn't you tell me? Would it have mattered? Emily opened her mouth to reply, then hesitated. Would it have mattered? She thought of the woman who had sat beside her on a cold bench, who had spoken with sincerity instead of pity, who had offered help without looking down on her. That woman had been human, warm, and real. The fact that she was also one of the most powerful figures in New York suddenly felt secondary. Almost. Here's your key card, the clerk said, sliding a small envelope toward Emily. Room 1547. The elevators are just past the bar. Is there anything else you'll need tonight? Could you send up some room service? Olivia asked. Something warm, soup maybe, and a few sandwiches. Of course, Miss Spencer. They rode the elevator in silence, Emily gripping the keycard as if it might vanish if she let go. The hallway was lined with deep burgundy carpet and artwork that likely cost more than Emily had earned in an entire year at her old job. Room 1547 was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Union Square, a king-size bed dressed in crisp white linens, and a marble bathroom with a rainfall shower. Emily paused in the doorway, visibly overwhelmed. I can't accept this, she said again. You already have, Olivia replied softly. The room is paid for, you may as well use it. Emily crossed to the window, staring down at the bench where she had been sleeping barely 20 minutes earlier. It felt like another lifetime. Why? She asked once more, turning back to Olivia. And don't give me some generic answer about helping people. You could write a check to a shelter if that's all this was. Why me? Why tonight? Olivia was silent for a long moment, studying Emily's face in the soft glow of the bedside lamps. There was intelligence there, resilience, and something else, an edge of vulnerability Emily tried to hide but couldn't quite mask. I don't know, Olivia admitted finally. I've walked past that square hundreds of times. I've seen homeless people before. But tonight, seeing you there, she trailed off, searching for words that felt inadequate. You looked like someone who didn't belong there, like this was just a temporary displacement, not permanent. Maybe I am permanently lost, Emily said softly. I don't think so, Olivia replied, stepping closer to the window and standing beside her. You said you were good at your job. You said you loved it. One setback doesn't erase that. A knock at the door interrupted them. Room service had arrived, a tray holding tomato soup, grilled cheese sandwiches, and hot chocolate. Simple comfort food, almost absurd against the backdrop of such luxury. I should go, Olivia said as the server left. Let you get some rest. Wait, Emily's voice stopped her at the door. Would you like to stay for a few minutes? Have some soup? It feels like too much for me alone. Olivia hesitated, thinking of her early meetings tomorrow, the reports to review, the conference call with investors in Tokyo. But there was something in the way Emily asked, neither desperate nor needy, just genuinely seeking company, that made Olivia nod. They settled on the couch by the window, sharing the simple meal and talking. Emily spoke of growing up in a small Ohio town, of her dreams to make it in New York, of a campaign she had designed for local businesses that had actually made a difference. Olivia found herself opening up too, really opening up, in a way she hadn't in years. She recounted the early days of Spencer Tech, long 18-hour shifts in a cramped Queens office, surviving on little more than coffee and sheer determination. She spoke of the loneliness of success, how the higher she climbed, the smaller her world became. Don't you have friends? Emily asked. Family? I have colleagues, Olivia replied, people who want things from me. My parents died in a car accident when I was in college. No siblings. Friends, it's hard to know who likes you for yourself and who likes you for what you can give them. That must be lonely. I thought I preferred it that way, Olivia admitted, startled by her own honesty. Simpler, cleaner, no complications. They talked until nearly 2 a.m, the conversation flowing with a rare, effortless ease. When Olivia finally stood, reluctant to break the spell of the evening, Emily walked her to the door. Thank you, she said softly. Not just for the room, but for this, for treating me like a person instead of a problem to be solved. Thank you for letting me stay. You're welcome, Olivia replied softly. I can't remember the last time I had a conversation that wasn't about quarterly projections or market share. They lingered at the door, neither quite ready to part. What happens tomorrow? Emily asked. I don't know, Olivia admitted. But maybe we could find out together. Olivia barely slept that night. In her penthouse apartment, she stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment with Emily. The way her eyes shone when she spoke about her work, the quiet dignity she maintained despite her circumstances, the easy, genuine laugh that seemed to come from somewhere deep inside. By 6 a.m., Olivia was dressed and in her home office, but for the first time in years, she couldn't focus. Her thoughts kept drifting to room 1547 at the W Union Square, wondering if Emily was sleeping peacefully, warm and safe, and whether she would still be there when checkout came. By 8:30, Olivia made a decision that would have stunned anyone who knew her. She called Rebecca. All of my morning meetings are canceled, she said. All of them, Miss Spencer? Rebecca asked, unable to hide her surprise. In 5 years as Olivia's assistant, Rebecca had never seen her cancel meetings without a crisis. All of them? She asked. Yes, reschedule for this afternoon if possible. I have something I need to take care of. Olivia arrived at the hotel just as Emily was checking out. She stood at the front desk in the same clothes from the night before, yet she seemed transformed, refreshed, more confident. The hot shower and good night's sleep had restored some of the vitality that homelessness had drained. Olivia, Emily said, turning as she approached. I was just leaving. Thank you again for— Have you had breakfast? Olivia interrupted. Emily shook her head. I was going to grab something from a street vendor. There's a cafe around the corner, Olivia said. Good coffee, excellent pastries. Would you like to join me? Emily studied her, trying to read the situation. Don't you have to work? I mean, you're Olivia Spencer. You probably have a dozen meetings this morning. I canceled them, Olivia said. You canceled meetings for me? I canceled meetings for breakfast, Olivia corrected, though they both knew it was essentially the same thing. The cafe was small and cozy, with exposed brick walls and an atmosphere that invited lingering over coffee. They took a table by the window, and Olivia watched Emily's expression as she took her first proper sip in weeks. God, I missed this, Emily said, closing her eyes, savoring the warmth. You don't realize how much you take for granted until it's gone. What will you do today? Olivia asked. Look for work, Emily replied. There's a temp agency in Midtown that sometimes has day jobs, data entry, filing, that kind of thing. It's not much, but it's something. Olivia felt a familiar stir, a spark of the same instinct that had driven her to build her company, the ability to see potential where others saw only problems. What if I told you I might have something better? Emily's fork froze midair. What do you mean? Spencer Tech is always looking for talented marketing people, especially those with fresh perspectives and creative approaches. Olivia, I can't. Why not? Because it would be charity. You'd be hiring me out of pity, not because I'm qualified. Olivia leaned in, her green eyes unwavering. Emily, I didn't build a $2 billion company by making decisions based on pity. If I'm offering you a job, it's because I believe you can do it. You don't even know my work. Then show me. Emily stared at her for a long moment before reaching into her backpack and pulling out a battered laptop. This is all I have left, she said, opening it carefully. Most of my portfolio was on my work computer, but I managed to save some things. For the next hour, Emily guided Olivia through campaigns she had created for small businesses, a local restaurant that tripled its customer base after Emily redesigned their social media strategy, a boutique clothing store that expanded to 3 locations following a viral marketing campaign she designed, a nonprofit that exceeded its fundraising goals by 200% after she revamped their donor outreach. The work was impressive, creative, strategic, and, most importantly, effective. Olivia felt a surge of genuine excitement at Emily's ideas, the fresh perspective she brought to challenges that Olivia's current team approached with predictable solutions. This is excellent work, Olivia said at last. Really excellent. Good enough for Spencer Tech, good enough for a trial period. 3 months, full salary and benefits. If it works out, we'll make it permanent. Emily's eyes glistened with tears, quickly brushed away. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Yes, absolutely. Yes. They spent the rest of the morning working out the details. Olivia arranged for Emily to stay at the hotel for another week while she found an apartment, advanced her enough for a security deposit and first month's rent, and scheduled her to start work on Monday. There's just one thing, Olivia said as they prepared to leave the cafe. This stays between us. As far as anyone at the company knows, you're a new hire who came through normal channels. No one needs to know how we met. Emily nodded immediately. Of course, I wouldn't want anyone to think I got the job for any reason other than my qualifications. But as they walked back toward the hotel, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Olivia's request than professional discretion. There was something in the way Olivia had said it, a careful distance that hadn't been there during their conversation the night before. Olivia, Emily said, stopping on the sidewalk, are you having second thoughts about this? No, Olivia replied quickly, not about the job. You're qualified and we need someone with your skills. She was quiet for a moment, watching the flow of pedestrians around them. But I think we should keep things professional from now on. Last night was unusual for me. I don't typically get personally involved with employees. Emily felt something settle in her chest, though she couldn't quite name it. Of course, you're right. Professional boundaries are important. Good, Olivia said, though her voice lacked conviction. I'll have Rebecca send you all the details about your start date and orientation. They shook hands formally on the sidewalk, and Olivia walked away without looking back. Emily watched her go, a strange sense of loss settling in. as if something precious had just slipped through her fingers, though she couldn't explain why. Neither of them realized that their attempt to maintain professional distance would soon prove impossible, or that the connection they had shared in the hotel room would only grow stronger, despite their best efforts to contain it. Emily's first week at Spencer Tech was a whirlwind of orientation sessions, team meetings, and learning the vast scope of the company's operations. The Spencer Tech building itself was a monument to innovation, 42 floors of cutting-edge technology, brilliant minds, and resources that Emily had only ever dreamed of working with. Her new colleagues were welcoming, though clearly curious about the new hire who had seemingly appeared out of nowhere. Emily was assigned to the digital marketing team under David Chen, a sharp-minded director who had been with the company for 6 years. Olivia Spencer herself recommended you, David told her on her first day as he guided her through the open plan office. That doesn't happen often. She usually leaves hiring decisions to department heads. Emily kept her expression neutral. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Well, let's see what you can do, David said. We're launching a new product line next quarter, AI-powered home automation systems. The target demographic is tech-savvy millennials and Gen Z consumers.
Think you can help us reach them? Emily's eyes lit up. This was exactly the kind of challenge she thrived on. I'd love to try. Over the next few days, Emily threw herself into the project with the energy of someone given a second chance. She researched market trends, analyzed competitor strategies, and began crafting a comprehensive campaign to position Spencer Tech's new products not just as innovative, but as essential for the modern lifestyle. She barely saw Olivia during those first days, though occasionally she caught glimpses through the glass walls of the executive conference room, watching her lead meetings with the intensity and focus that had earned her legendary status in the business world. Once, their eyes met across the office floor, and Emily felt a jolt of recognition, a reminder of the connection they had shared in that hotel room. But Olivia looked away quickly, and Emily forced herself to do the same. It was Friday afternoon when everything shifted. Emily was working late, refining her presentation for Monday morning, when she heard the familiar click of heels on the marble floor. She looked up to see Olivia approaching her desk, and her heart did something complicated in her chest. "Working late?" Olivia observed, stopping beside her workstation. "I wanted to make sure my presentation was ready," Emily replied, keeping her voice professional. David said, "You might be sitting in on Monday's meeting." "I might be," Emily answered. Olivia glanced at her computer screen, where a sleek, polished presentation was taking shape. "How are you settling in?" "Everyone's been very welcoming. The work is challenging, but in a good way." They stood in awkward silence for a moment, the easy conversation of their first meeting replaced by careful formality. Around them, the office was nearly empty, a handful of dedicated employees burning the midnight oil. "Emily," Olivia said finally, her voice softer than it had been all week, "are you happy here?" The question caught Emily off guard. "Yes, of course. Why would you ask that?" "You seem different, more reserved than when we first met." Emily looked up at her, noticing a flicker of vulnerability in her expression, the same woman who had sat beside her on that bench in Union Square. "You asked me to keep things professional," Emily said quietly. "I'm trying to respect that." "I did, didn't I?" Olivia's smile was rueful. "Sometimes I think I'm too good at building walls." "Why did you really come down here tonight?" Emily asked. Olivia was quiet for a long moment. Emily could see the struggle within her, the battle between the CEO who maintained absolute control over her life and the woman who had once impulsively offered help to a stranger. "Because I miss talking to you," Olivia admitted. "These past few days, I've found myself thinking about our conversation at the hotel. When was the last time you had a real conversation with someone? Not about work, not about business, just talking." Emily saved her work and closed her laptop. "Want to get out of here?" "Where would we go?" "I know a place."
20 minutes later, they were walking through Central Park as the sun dipped behind the Manhattan skyline. Emily had suggested the park because it was neutral territory, not Olivia's world of corporate power, not Emily's world of uncertainty, just a place where they could be two people talking. "I used to come here when I first moved to New York," Emily said, strolling along the path beside the reservoir. "When the city felt overwhelming, when I missed home, when I needed to remember why I came here in the first place." "Why did you come here?" Olivia asked. "Because I wanted to matter," Emily said simply. "I wanted to create things that would make a difference, even if it was just helping a small business find its voice or connecting people with something they needed. New York felt like the place where that was possible." For a moment, Emily was quiet, watching joggers and dog walkers enjoying the evening. "Now I'm not sure. The past few weeks have made me question a lot of things. What success really means, what security looks like, how quickly everything you think you've built can disappear." They found a bench overlooking the water, and Olivia sat down beside Emily, careful to leave a respectable distance between them. "I've been thinking about that too," Olivia said. "Success. I mean, I've spent so many years focused on building the company, proving myself, winning." "But winning what exactly?" Emily asked. "You've built something incredible. Spencer Tech has changed how people interact with technology. You've created thousands of jobs, revolutionized entire industries." "Have I, though?" Olivia's voice was quieter now, edged with doubt. "Or have I just created a very expensive monument to my own ambition?" Emily turned to her, struck by the vulnerability in her tone. "What do you mean? What's the point of building an empire if you're going to rule it alone?" Olivia's laugh was bitter. "I have everything I thought I wanted, and I'm lonelier than I've ever been in my life." "You don't have to be," Emily said softly. "Don't I?" Olivia shook her head. "Look at my life, Emily. Look at the choices I've made. I've systematically eliminated every possibility of genuine human connection in favor of professional achievement. I don't know how to be anything other than what I am." "Maybe you don't have to be anything other than what you are," Emily replied gently. "Maybe you just have to let people see who that really is." They sat in comfortable silence as darkness settled around them, city lights beginning to twinkle in the distance. Emily became acutely aware of Olivia beside her, the subtle scent of her perfume, the way she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear when deep in thought, the careful composure she maintained even in this rare moment of vulnerability. "Emily?" Olivia said finally, her voice quiet but firm. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me, okay? That night we met, when I saw you on that bench, what did you think of me?" Emily considered the question carefully. "I thought you were someone used to being in control, but who genuinely cared about a stranger. I thought you were lonely, even if you wouldn't admit it. And I thought you were beautiful." The last words slipped out before she could stop them, and she felt heat rise to her cheeks. Olivia didn't seem shocked or uncomfortable. Instead, she turned to face Emily fully for the first time since they had sat down. "I thought you were beautiful too," Olivia said quietly. "And brave, and real in a way I'd forgotten people could be, and that terrified me." "Why?" Emily asked softly. "Because I've spent so many years convincing myself that I don't need anyone," Olivia admitted. "That emotional attachments are weaknesses I can't afford. And then I met you, and suddenly all of that certainty felt like a lie I'd been telling myself." They were sitting closer now, though neither could pinpoint when that had happened. Emily could see the flecks of gold in Olivia's green eyes, could count the faint freckles across her nose that makeup usually concealed. "Olivia," Olivia whispered, her voice barely audible. "I know," Olivia replied. "I know this is complicated. I know there are a dozen reasons why this is a bad idea. But I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop wondering what might happen if I stop being so afraid of letting someone in. The space between them seemed to shrink, and Emily felt her heart racing. This was dangerous territory, not just because Olivia was her boss, but because Emily could feel herself falling for someone whose world was so different from her own, it might as well be another planet. "What are you saying?" Emily asked. "I'm saying that maybe professional boundaries aren't the most important thing here. Maybe some things are worth the risk." Before Emily could respond, Olivia's phone buzzed with an urgent message. She glanced at it and sighed. "Crisis in Tokyo," she said, the moment broken. "I have to take a call." They walked back through the park in silence, each lost in their own thoughts. At the edge of Central Park, where their paths would diverge, Olivia to her penthouse, Emily to her small hotel room, they stopped. "Emily," Olivia said softly, "would you like to have dinner tomorrow night, somewhere quiet, away from the office?" Emily's heart leapt, but she forced herself to think clearly. "Are you sure that's wise?" "Probably not," Olivia admitted, "but I'm tired of making every decision based on what's wise. Sometimes you have to make decisions based on what feels right." Emily looked into Olivia's eyes and saw hope, fear, and something that felt like the beginning of love. "Yes," she said softly, "I'd like that very much." Saturday evening found Emily in front of her hotel room mirror, trying on the third outfit in an hour. She had settled on a simple black dress from a nearby boutique, nothing too fancy but elegant enough for dinner with Olivia Spencer. The irony wasn't lost on her. She was using money Olivia had given her to buy clothes for a dinner with Olivia. Was it a date? Neither of them had used that word, but the careful way Olivia had asked, the nervous flutter in Emily's stomach, the memory of their almost kiss in Central Park, it all felt like more than a business dinner. Her phone buzzed with a text from Olivia. "Car will pick you up at 7. Looking forward to tonight." Emily smiled, despite her nerves. In the weeks since starting at Spencer Tech, she had seen Olivia in full CEO mode, commanding boardrooms, making decisions that affected thousands, wielding power with a natural authority that made grown men defer to her judgment. But tonight, in that simple text, Emily glimpsed the woman she had met on the bench in Union Square. The restaurant Olivia had chosen was a small Italian place in the village, intimate and warm, a world away from the corporate dining rooms where Olivia usually held court. When Emily arrived, Olivia was already seated at a corner table, looking different, softer somehow, in a cream-colored sweater and dark jeans instead of her usual power suit. "You look beautiful," Olivia said as Emily sat down.
And there was something in Olivia's voice that made Emily's pulse quicken. "So do you," Emily replied, and meant it. Without the armor of her business attire, Olivia looked younger, more approachable, more human. They ordered wine and talked about everything except work. Emily's childhood in Ohio, Olivia's college years at MIT, their favorite books and movies, the places they dreamed of traveling. The conversation flowed as effortlessly as it had that first night in the hotel, and Emily found herself relaxing into the evening. "Can I ask you something?" Emily said as they shared a dessert of tiramisu. "Anything," Olivia replied. "Why haven't you ever been in a serious relationship? I mean, you're successful, intelligent, beautiful. Surely there have been opportunities." Olivia was quiet for a moment, swirling the wine in her glass. "There have been opportunities," she said finally, "but I've never met anyone who made me want to risk what I've built." "Risk it how?" "Love makes you vulnerable," Olivia said. "It gives someone else the power to hurt you, to distract you, to become more important than your goals. I've seen too many brilliant people derailed by relationships that didn't work out." Then Olivia looked up, meeting Emily's eyes across the small table.
Now I'm beginning to think that maybe being invulnerable isn't the same thing as being strong. The weight of that admission hung between them, and Emily felt something shift deep in her chest. This wasn't just attraction or infatuation. This was Olivia Spencer, one of the most powerful women in America, admitting that she was willing to be vulnerable for the first time in her adult life. "Olivia," Emily said softly, "what are we doing here?" "I don't know," Olivia admitted. "I've never been in uncharted territory like this before. In business, I always have a plan, a strategy, a clear path to the desired outcome. But this," she gestured between them, "this feels like jumping off a cliff and hoping I can figure out how to fly on the way down." "Maybe that's not such a bad thing," Emily said. "Maybe some things are worth the leap." They walked through the village after dinner, the October air crisp and clear. The streets were quieter than Midtown, lined with brownstones and small shops that gave the neighborhood an intimate charm. They found themselves walking closer together, their hands brushing occasionally as they moved. "Emily," Olivia said as they paused at a corner, waiting for the light to change, "I need you to know that if we do this, if we explore whatever this is between us, it's going to be complicated." "I know. I mean, really complicated," replied Emily. "The media attention, the speculation about whether you got your job because of our relationship, the pressure from the board if they find out their CEO is dating an employee." "Are we dating?" Emily asked, a small smile playing at her lips. Olivia's cheeks flushed slightly. "I'd like to be." "If you're willing to deal with all the complications that come with it," Emily said, stopping and turning to face her fully. They stood beneath a streetlight, its warm glow making Olivia's hair look like spun gold. "Olivia, 3 weeks ago I was sleeping on a bench in Union Square. I had no job, no home, no prospects. You changed all of that. You gave me a chance when no one else would, and you did it because you saw something in me that I was starting to think didn't exist anymore." "Emily, let me finish," Olivia said softly. Emily's voice was gentle. "I'm not naive. I know this won't be easy. I know there will be people who assume I'm using you or that you're using me. I know that dating your boss is complicated under the best of circumstances, and these aren't exactly the best of circumstances." "Then why?" Olivia asked. "Because," Emily said, stepping closer, "in all of that complexity, there's something simple. I care about you. Not Olivia Spencer, the CEO, not the woman on the Forbes list, not the person who can change my life with a phone call. I care about the woman who sat with me on a park bench and talked about loneliness, who admitted she doesn't know how to let people in, who's brave enough to risk everything she's built for the possibility of something real." Olivia's eyes shone with unshed tears, and for the first time in years, she felt the weight of her carefully constructed walls begin to lift. "I care about you too," Olivia whispered. "More than I thought I was capable of caring about anyone." The space between them vanished. When Olivia kissed her, Emily felt as if she were both falling and flying at the same time. The kiss was soft and tentative at first, then deepened as Emily responded, her hands finding Olivia's face, fingers threading through that golden hair. When they finally pulled apart, both were breathing hard. "So," Emily said, her voice slightly unsteady, "I guess we're really doing this." "I guess we are," Olivia replied, and for the first time since Emily had known her, Olivia Spencer looked genuinely happy. They spent the rest of the evening wandering through the village, talking, laughing, stealing kisses in the shadows between streetlights. It felt like a beginning, the first page of a story neither of them could have imagined writing. But as Emily lay in her hotel bed that night, replaying every moment, she couldn't shake the feeling that the real challenges were only beginning. Falling in love with Olivia Spencer had been the easy part. staying in love, building something real and lasting despite the obstacles, would demand more courage than either of them had ever needed before. 3 months later, Emily had settled into a rhythm that felt almost normal. She had found a small but charming apartment in Brooklyn. Her work at Spencer Tech was thriving, and her relationship with Olivia had deepened into something exhilarating and terrifyingly real. They had been careful, perhaps too careful, but the bond between them had grown undeniable.
Their relationship remained a secret from everyone at the office, lived out in stolen moments. Private dinners, weekend getaways to Olivia's house in the Hamptons, and quiet evenings in Emily's apartment, where Olivia could finally shed the weight of her public persona and simply be herself. Emily had never been happier, yet she was beginning to grasp the cost of loving someone constantly in the public eye. Every decision had to be calculated, every public appearance choreographed. They couldn't hold hands on the street, couldn't be seen together at recognizable restaurants, and couldn't arrive at the office at the same time for fear of speculation. It was a Tuesday morning in January when everything changed. Emily arrived early, preparing a presentation for the executive team detailing the success of the AI home automation campaign. The product launch had exceeded every projection, and her marketing strategy had been a key factor in that success. She was proud of her work and the recognition earned on her own merit. She was reviewing her slides when David Chen appeared at her desk, his expression grim. "Emily, we need to talk. Conference room 3, now." Emily's stomach sank. David's tone was all business, and not the good kind. She followed him to the small conference room where 2 others waited, Janet Morrison from Human Resources and Michael Torres from Legal. "Please, sit down," Janet said, her voice carefully neutral. Emily obeyed, her mind racing through possibilities. Had she made a mistake in the campaign? Violated some obscure company policy? But the serious expressions on the faces of those around the table suggested something far worse than a minor infraction. Emily's blood ran cold.
"Emily," David began, "we've received some information that we need to discuss with you, information about your relationship with Miss Spencer." Her heart hammered in her chest. "I'm sorry, we know you're involved with Olivia Spencer," Michael said bluntly. "The question is whether you're going to be honest about it or whether we'll have to present you with the evidence we've already gathered." Emily's mind went blank. How could they know? She and Olivia had been so careful, so discreet, never photographed together, never seen in public in any context that couldn't be explained as professional. I don't know what you're talking about," Emily stammered, her voice betraying her. Janet slid a manila folder across the table. "These are photographs taken by a private investigator hired by Marcus Wellington. Apparently, Mr. Wellington was quite upset about being rejected by Mrs. Spencer, and he wanted to know why." Emily's hands trembled as she opened the folder. Inside were a dozen photographs, her and Olivia kissing outside the restaurant in the village, walking hand in hand through Central Park, embracing on the steps of Olivia's townhouse. Each image was clear, unmistakable, devastating. "Mr. Wellington approached the board of directors yesterday," Michael continued. "He's threatening to go public with these photos unless certain demands are met." Emily swallowed hard. What kind of demands?" Emily asked, her voice tight with fear. What does he want?" "He wants Miss Spencer to step down as CEO," David said. "He claims her judgment has been compromised by her relationship with you and that she's created a hostile work environment by showing favoritism to someone she's sleeping with." Emily felt her stomach churn. This was exactly what she had feared, the very reason she had hesitated to get involved with Olivia. Now her worst nightmare was unfolding. And it wasn't just her career at stake, it was Olivia's entire life's work. "What happens now?" Emily whispered. "That depends on you," Janet said. "The board is meeting this afternoon to discuss the situation. If you resign voluntarily and sign a non-disclosure agreement, they might handle this quietly. If you fight it, they'll destroy both of you." Emily's hands shook as she absorbed the weight of their words. The board has a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders. They can't allow personal relationships to compromise company leadership. Emily closed the folder, her hands trembling. I need to talk to Olivia. Miss Spencer is in meetings all morning. The board meeting is at 2. We need your decision by then." Emily left the conference room feeling as if she were walking through a nightmare. She went to the bathroom, splashed cold water on her face, and tried to think clearly, her mind racing with the impossible choices ahead. Everything she had worked for, everything she had built, was on the brink of collapse. But worse than that, she was about to hurt the woman she loved most. Emily thought of Olivia's face when she spoke about Spencer Tech, the pride, the intensity, the spark in her eyes when she discussed the company's innovations. Olivia had built this empire from the ground up, sacrificing everything for it. Emily couldn't be the reason it was taken from her. By noon, Emily had made her choice. She typed a resignation letter citing personal reasons, packed the few belongings she had at her desk, said farewell to colleagues who had become friends, and walked out of Spencer Tech for the last time. That evening, she was waiting in Olivia's penthouse, using the key Olivia had given her months earlier. She sat on the couch in her work clothes, staring out at the city lights. "Emily," Olivia said immediately, sensing something was wrong. "What are you doing here? I thought we were meeting for dinner." Emily turned to face her, and Olivia saw the tears in her eyes, the resignation letter lying on the coffee table. "They know," Emily said simply. Olivia's face went pale. "What do you mean, they know?" Emily told her everything: Marcus Wellington's investigation, the photographs, the board's ultimatum. Olivia's expression shifted from shock to anger, then to something that looked like grief. "So, you quit," Olivia said quietly when Emily finished. "You just gave up," Olivia said. "I protected you," Emily replied. "You made that decision without talking to me, without giving me a choice," Olivia shot back. Emily turned toward the window. "What choice was there, Olivia? Let them tear your company apart? Let them push you out as CEO because of me?" "Maybe that should have been my choice to make," Olivia said, her voice rising. "Maybe I would have chosen you over the company." "You don't mean that." "Don't I?" Olivia stepped closer, standing beside her. "Emily, Spencer Tech is just a company. It's successful, profitable, innovative, but at the end of the day, it's still just a business. You're the first person in my entire adult life who's made me believe there might be something more important than quarterly earnings and market share." Tears streamed down Emily's face. "I can't be the reason you lose everything you've worked for, and I can't let you sacrifice yourself for me, not for something that matters less than you do." They stood there in silence, both aware they were at a crossroads that would define the rest of their lives. "What do we do now?" Emily asked softly. Olivia reached for her hands, holding them tight. "We fight," Olivia said firmly. "We go to the board meeting tomorrow and tell them the truth. Yes, we're in a relationship, but it hasn't compromised my judgment or your performance. Marcus Wellington is a vindictive man trying to manipulate corporate governance using our private lives, and if they don't listen, we face whatever comes next together." "But I'm not going to let fear decide for us," Olivia continued. "I've spent too many years afraid of taking risks, of letting people in, of choosing love over safety. I'm not making that mistake again." Emily looked into her eyes and saw determination, love, and a courage that left her breathless. "Are you sure?" she asked. "I've never been more certain of anything in my life," Olivia replied. "The question is, are you willing to fight for us?" Emily thought of everything that had brought them here. The night in Union Square, their honest conversations, the love that had grown against all odds. She thought of the woman who had seen her potential when she was at her lowest, who had given her more than a job, a chance to rebuild her life. "Yes," Emily said, "I'm willing to fight." The next morning, they walked into the Spencer Tech boardroom together, hand in hand, ready to face whatever consequences their love might bring. The board members' eyes widened. They had expected Emily's resignation to resolve the matter quietly.
"Ladies and gentlemen," Olivia began, her voice calm but commanding, "I believe we have some things to discuss." The boardroom fell silent. Outside, the city stretched endlessly, a tapestry of lights and life, a reminder that the world moved forward regardless of fear or scandal. Inside, two women, one who had built an empire, one who had reclaimed her life, sat side by side, hand in hand, ready to face the storm. "We will not be manipulated," Olivia continued, meeting each board member's gaze with unwavering confidence. "Our relationship has not compromised the integrity of Spencer Tech. Our commitment to this company, to innovation, and to each other is stronger than any attempt to distract or divide us." Emily's grip tightened, a silent promise that they were in this together. She could see the subtle shift in the room, the respect returning, grudging though it might be, as Olivia laid bare her strength and conviction. For the first time, fear had no seat at the table. Only love, courage, and the determination to choose what mattered most. And sometimes, as they both knew in that moment, that was all the victory love needed. The city that never slept watched on, unaware of the quiet revolution happening high above its streets. A love that refused to be hidden, a life that refused to be compromised, and two hearts daring to leap together, no matter the consequences.